Good day and welcome to the first segment of another A Week at the Plot. It's Monday the 11th of January, and yesterday when I was looking at the vinyl bed that needs a lot of work that we had the tomatoes growing on last year, I realised that the first job that I need to do means that something else has to happen before that. Let me show you. One of the first jobs I need to do in the 11th episode of Starting a New Plot is marking out the extensions to these beds and marking out the bed here, which I will be doing with coloured rope. But what I realised is this jumbo bag here of compost is right in the way. So I need to move that compost. And what I've decided is it's going to go into the bed just to the left of us. Let's spin over there. As you may already know, I'm going to raise this raised bed by an additional decking board, and I need to put that spent compost into this raised bed. The issue that we have at the moment is that we have all of our parsnips here and we have some lettuce in here. So my first job of today is going to be removing all of the parsnips and also removing this Heath Robinson coal frame and harvesting the lettuce that we do still have in there, which is now pretty limited, but there is a harvest to be had. Bit of plastic has blown in here, not quite sure where that's from, but that will be going into our household rubbish. So yeah, I'm going to crack on and start clearing this bed, firstly by taking out all the parsnips. That is that bed emptied of parsnips. Loads of worms, which of course I have disturbed, but that's how it goes. And over here, pretty decent harvest of parsnips, which let's try and have a look at a bit later. Now, time to remove the Heath Robinson coal frame. So we've got a few lettuce left in here, and the thing is, once they reach the top of the perspex, they start rotting down. But over here we have some decent leaves to harvest. Let me take you over there. So yeah, there's some leaves, but you can see how they're browning at the top here, maybe. I don't think I had enough airflow in here for them. And look over there, 2 slugs. Right, time to remove everything in here. As you can hopefully see, I've now given this just a really shallow tickle over with the fork, having removed all the plants and given it a little weed as well. The reason I've given it a little tickle over in the top couple of inches is when we put the soil from the yellow jumbo bag, or the compost from the yellow jumbo bag onto here, I don't want to have a layer of one type of compost which may have formed some type of skin from being compacted and put another layer on top. I want the top layers here to be loose, so that when I put the other compost on top, it sort of mixes together. I'm not going to be doing a lot of forking, but by doing that tickling in the first couple of inches, top couple of inches of the compost in here, the other compost that I'm going to put into here will have a better adherence to the compost, and there won't be layers of compost. The reason that's important is we're going to use this as a roots bed again this year, and again, by adding height, an additional decking board, we're reducing the chance of carrot root fly in our parsnips and our carrots, because they fly, the actual fly flies quite low to the ground. So the higher you can sow your carrots and parsnips within a container like this, the better. Right, that yellow jumbo bag isn't going to empty itself. Best laid plans and all that. I'd given myself a couple of hours down here today, and I've just had a call from a client who needs me to jump onto my computer at home. So I'm packing up the wheelbarrow. I've emptied about 2/5 of this jumbo bag and just bent the sides of it over and put the wheelbarrow on top, because I don't want it, if it rains today, I don't want any water getting in there. Not that it will damage the soil in any way, but it will obviously make the compost wetter, which will make it heavier, which will mean that the job will need more energy. Let me just show you what I have completed today. This has basically been filled. So actually, maybe it's thinking about it, it's a good thing I got that call, because I don't have my drill with me to be able to put further decking boards on top, nor the saw with me to be able to saw decking boards down to this width here. So maybe that was a good call. But yeah, that is about 2/5, I think, of that jumbo bag. Once we have the other decking board on top, hopefully the rest of that will fill this raised bed and be getting ready for sowings of our parsnips and carrots. Talking about parsnips, let me spin you round to our parsnip harvest. So here it is, and I have to say I'm pretty pleased. We've got some small ones like that, which are obviously perfectly edible. In fact, if you're in a high-end restaurant in London, where I have been numerous times, you'd be paying about 10 quid for 3 of those roasted. Ludicrous. And some really nicely sized ones you can see there. That's about maybe, well, from there to there it's about a foot. From the tip to there it's about a foot. And the interesting thing is the larger ones. So, you know, the larger ones are actually from our own saved seed. Like that one there again. Are from our own saved seed. The smaller ones and the more gymnastic ones, let's say, are actually from fresh seed we bought last year from a big seed retailer. So it's interesting because actually our saved seed has produced better parsnips than the seed that we bought. All of these are Guernsey half long, so it's not a difference in varieties. So there we are. Anyway, I'm going to leave it there for today. If I can come back later on and finish off this bed, I will do. Otherwise, I'll see you tomorrow. Bye. Good day again. Well, not again, because it's Tuesday. It's been wet overnight. Really quite torrential rain at points. So torrential showers. So I'm so pleased that I folded the jumbo bag in on itself and put the wheelbarrow on top, because that will have saved that compost getting absolutely saturated. I mean, it's not dry, but having it saturated would just take up more energy. So I'm back here today. I've got my saw and my drill, and I'm going to finish off this raised bed in front of me. Now, before I start, I've had a look around the site and I can't see anybody else on this site. I'm going to be sawing and I'm going to be drilling, and obviously accidents can happen. So what I have done is I've gone to the workmen on the corner just by our allotment gate, and I've said to them, can they just listen out for me, not for the drilling and the sawing, but just in case I have an accident and I shout help, they will know where to come. And I've pointed out which my plot is. So that's obviously a health and safety thing. You know, if you're going to be doing work on site, on your plot, and there are no other people on site, do see if you can tell somebody else. If there are people on site, obviously let them know you're going to be doing the work, because the last thing we want is to injure ourselves on our plots and there be no way to contact somebody for help. I'll also be keeping my phone in my back pocket, so should anything happen, at least I've got my phone to hand and I have the guys over there as backup too. So there we are, just a little bit of advice. I find it's useful for me, so I hope that's useful for you. Right, I'm going to have to get those decking boards over there on the vinyl over here, and one of them I'm going to have to saw in half. What I will do is I will put a link to how we have made edged and raised beds before. So I won't actually show you exactly what I'm doing here today, but I will link back to edge beds that we've made before. What I forgot is that these aren't the decking boards that I bought. They're ones that we're reusing that were on this plot anyway. So when I line it up here, there's a gap over here. That's the gap. So what I'm going to have to do is cut a piece that size, and then I'm going to have to cut another piece which will go onto the back of these, and then I'll screw through. The screws I've got will actually come through both sets, so I'm going to have to hacksaw those off at some point. But yeah, oh, I hadn't expected that. So I've put those decking boards in place. You can see just here I've put I'm not sure what you call that. I'm sure there's a word for it, but it's a bracket. It's a piece of wood I've put behind there. And you can just see, I think, the 4 screws. I've screwed from each side, and that will keep that joint here pretty tight. So this is the extra bit that I added onto this decking board to make up the whole width. Fortunately, I found a decking board which was just too big, so I had to cut some of that one off, which is this bit here that I've used as a bracket. If we just go over there, that board here fits really quite snugly, and the board over here is actually just a bit short, but I didn't, for the sake of a couple of inches, I didn't want to saw another piece of wood. Let's just go over and have a look at that. So this top bit of wood here is just a bit shy at the edge here and shy at the edge here, which is fine. It will do the job. And now, as you can see, it needs filling. So back to the jumbo bag. Oh, and let me just show you this bracket from this side. You can see more clearly there in the middle the ends of the screws, the pointed ends of the screws sticking out. So I've got 4 going sort of this way, if you like, and 4 going that way to keep it as tight as possible. And I will get a hacksaw at some point and cut off the ends of those screws because they're treacherous. What I will do in the meantime is I've got some corks at home, so I'm going to cut up some corks and just screw them onto the ends of these screws, because I'm not sure where our hacksaw is. Right, oh, let me just show you something else. Hopefully you can see the screws there and the screws there. and you can see that they're on a different level, because what you don't want to do is screw screws in at the same level, because the screws could just hit each other and either not go in or break. So make sure your screws are on different levels as they go in. I'm so glad I've got this job done. It's, again, something, the raising of this has been something that I've wanted to do for 9 or 10 months now. And yeah, finally done it, which is fantastic. So all of that jumbo bag has now gone into here. There's none left. The wonderful thing is that leaves the space under the vinyl, or the whole vinyl space where we had our tomatoes in grow bags last year. That leaves that completely clear, so I can start marking it out and the extensions of these beds and getting on with that job. Yay! Oh, I'm so pleased to have got this done, and so pleased to have sorted out what was a unexpected issue. Not a major problem, not in the scheme of world events, but yeah, got that sorted. Okay, I will see you again very soon. Bye. I'm going to need to take these leaves off, put them in the compost. It really is a rather damp day today. It's been drizzling. Well, actually, I think it's been constant drizzle since I looked out of the window at 7 o'clock this morning. But yeah, I mean, it's the middle of January. That's what we expect. I'm so pleased I did that bed yesterday. It's quite interesting how much of this bed I now no longer see. But yeah, that's great. So we had parsnips this side and carrots this side, and we're going to swap them around. And once I remove the fennel and the Italian parsley that's growing from the raised bed that's up on that side of the plot, I'll be topping that up with compost as well. Yeah, what I have noticed is, of course, all the work I was doing here, sawing and sorting out my tools yesterday, has really, made this area quite muddy. So I must remember to use this pathway to come to the shed, because there's a lot of work to do on this site in the coming months. And the last thing that I want to do is damage this grass. So yeah, I must remember to use that path. So I needed to come back down today and get some Portuguese cabbage. I've just taken off some of those yellowing leaves on the brassicas that we've just seen, and pop them into the compost bin. And now I'm just going to sit here for a while. Yeah, just going to sit here for a while and take in the dampness and quietness of the day. Because, of course, when we do have fog and when we have drizzle like we've got today, it does dampen the sound. I dampen not in terms of wetness, but in terms of loudness of sound. So I'm just going to take some time out, tear up a little bit of cardboard for the compost bin, and I'll see you again tomorrow. Bye. There's always a dog. Good day. Another wet day. In fact, pretty wet day. It's been drizzling all day, and then we've had some heavy rain showers as well. So actually we've had more rain today than we had yesterday, and it's also colder today than yesterday. However, having had a really good time at my desk this morning and got on with quite a few things for one of my clients, I wanted to get out of the house, have the exercise of walking down here, and I'm just going to have some time now after I've done a couple of jobs. Let me show you the jobs that I am doing. Now the other cloth with oil on it. Maybe about 20 minutes, half an hour's work. I have put the cork ends or the corks onto the ends of those screws that were protruding from the decking boards, where I put a brace in to join those two bits of decking board together. I realised that a quarter of a standard cork would be sufficient for the screw to not protrude once I'd screwed the cork on. So I just got a standard cork, I cut it into quarters with a serrated knife, carefully of course, and I've screwed each of those, as you saw, onto the end of the protruding screws. Then back in here to check on the tools that we've got, particularly the steel and the stainless steel tools that we've got. given them a really good wipe over with a dry rag, that dry rag. And then after I had done that, I then got the rag that has got quite a bit of oil on it and have wiped over all those tools again. And with some, like this hand tool here, where the end is wood and it's unfinished wood, it's not lacquered wood, I've also given that an oil over as well. And I've just used bog standard 3-in-1 oil, which is what my dad used 50 years ago. And maybe there's something better now, but it does the job. It does the job. It keeps them clean and it also prevents them from rusting. So you're adding longevity to your tools, which, let's face it, I mean, these ones here, these two were from Wilko. And I think I got them in the sale. They were only something like £8 each. But they're really good tools. I really like them. They work well for me. And they're good enough for me to make sure that I do actually look after them, as I do with all of the tools. I think this rake, that's also going to need some oil on it, because even though it was finished at one time with lacquer, that lacquer has worn off over use. So I'll be putting some oil onto that. The end of it is actually galvanized, so it's galvanized steel at the base, so I don't have to worry too much. Sometimes I'm wondering, can I get that one out? Let me put that down. Sorry, clunking away. I don't know what this is, but it's coated, and I do actually give that an oil every now and again. Does that? Yeah, I'll most probably give that one an oil at some point, the handle as well. So yeah, I'm not too worried about using oil on the tools. And obviously if they're wooden tools, that soaks into the wood and it will help the wood and preserve the wood as well, which is great. So that's it. There's a few things I want to do. I always look up, I'm not sure if my thermometer in the shed here is correct. I've got a high-low thermometer. It's reading 6.4 degrees at the moment. It's saying the highest it's been is 18.3 and the lowest it's been is minus 4.1. Every time I look at that, I think, has it been minus 4.1 down here? I mean, maybe it has. That does seem quite cold, particularly as it's in the shed, so it's outside of wind chill. But it regularly goes down to minus 4.1, so I'm wondering whether it's broken, actually, or maybe it's not. Anyway, you know what I'm doing, waffling. That's the problem, you see. I see something and I want to tell you about it, and it's maybe it's not that relevant. I tell you what I'll do is I'll do a video shot of the thermometer thing right at the end of a week at the plot this week. You can see what I'm talking about. Anyway, can you hear the parakeets? Not sure if you can. I'm going to go. Thanks again for being with me today, and I'll see you again soon. Bye. Good day. Welcome to Fridays a week at the plot. I get asked quite often about the size of the beds that we use here to grow in. And there are mainly two sizes of beds. Actually, there's mainly one size of bed. Then there are two beds which are the same size to each other. And then there's going to be a couple of three differently sized beds. Let me show you what the sizes are. Most of the beds that we have here, and in fact on the other plot, are 2.4 meters long by 1.2 meters wide. That's simply because we've used decking board that is 2.4 meters long. And if you cut 2.4 meters in half, you get 1.2 meters. So most of our beds are that size, 2.4 meters by 1.2 meters. Over here, this bed where our tomatoes were last year is going to be an odd size bed, as is the perennial bed that is going to sit behind here where these cardoons are. Those are going to be ground beds, as you know, but every other bed that you can see here is 2.4 by 1.2 wide. And of course, when you have two together, they're then 4.8 long by 1.2 wide. The reason that we've kept to this standard size of bed is that when you're cutting hoops or netting or anything like that, it's so much easier to have one size that will fit all your different beds than having to cut differently sized hoops or differently sized netting. That is the reason that we're doing this, or keeping as many beds to 2.4 by 1.2 meters as possible. In this case, you've seen earlier in the week, this is 3 decking boards high, which makes that, I think, about 36 centimeters high, maybe 37 centimeters high, because it's just over 12 centimeters per decking board. And the reason we have these is mainly to grow our parsnips and carrots, because carrot root fly, as I said earlier, flies generally at a particular height, and the higher you can have your beds, the less propensity there is, we have found, to get carrot root fly. Let's have a look at the other side of the plot. Looking at this side of the plot now, this bed here, the one here, the one behind the bench, which has got the fennel and parsley in, and the one behind that, those are all 2.4 meters by 1.2 meters again. These two here are 4.8 meters by 80 centimeters. So 4.8 meters by 0.8 meters. I'm not quite sure why I did them 80 centimeters wide. I think I read an article that said that would be quite good, but actually, having worked with them, they're great and they're really useful, but I would have liked to have done them a little bit wider. So either a meter or preferably 1.2 meters. Then we have this bed here, and if I can just spin you round, right in the edge here, we've got the Cheeky Prince bed, or what was the Cheeky Prince bed this year. Both this Portuguese Cabbage bed and this Cheeky Prince bed are an odd size. I think this one is, I think it's 2 meters by about 1.8. And I think this one here is 2 meters by 2.4 meters. The reason being is really sort of, that is what fitted there. When I set out this first allotment plot that we had, I did what I thought was right at the time. If I had the energy and the wherewithal to do it again, I would definitely be making these wider, these two wider. I'd most probably make the Portuguese Cabbage bed narrower so that I could incorporate greater width in these two beds. And this one over here, the Cheeky Prince bed to the left, yeah, I'd most probably still have that one as it is. In some ways, they line up. So this one lines up with this one lines up with this one here behind the bench lines up with this one over here. But if I was going to do the whole thing and replan the whole thing, I think I would have the beds going this way rather than that way. So there we are. That's the size of the beds that we've generally got here. The only other one is our fruit bed. Let's have a quick look at that. So this is our fruit bed here, and I think it's 3 meters by 1 meter. It's not quite as wide as these beds over here, width, and it's definitely longer. The reason this one is an odd size is simply because it was here when we got this side of the plot, or in fact it was further over here when we got it, and we've moved it over. So that one, as you know, is to be sorted out, and I want to get onto that at the beginning of February, or at least that's when I've scheduled to sort out that fruit bed. So I hope that answers the questions about what size our beds are. Sorry about that bad pan. And if you do have any suggestions or want to know any other reasoning, then please do just leave comments below and I will get back to you. Oh, I see a magpie flying about. That's nice. Okay, see you again tomorrow. Bye. Good day. It is such a lovely afternoon. We had such a grey and wet Saturday morning, but the weather is absolutely glorious now. Blue skies, fluffy clouds, lots of sun. In fact, look, thermals, t-shirt, no fleece and no gilet on top either. So gloriously lovely. It's cold, don't get me wrong, it's cold, but when you're in the sun, it's gloriously warm. In fact, as I sit here, I can see the steam coming off the decking boards. You know, the water's evaporating off the decking boards in the sun, which is absolutely lovely. So I want to keep this brief, as I've done some editing of all of the shots so far in a week at the plot for this week, and it's already quite long, so apologies for that. Today I just wanted to pick up on trays and pots for seed sowing and also for planting seedlings onto in order to plant them out. You may remember back at, I think, the end of November, beginning of December, I said, please do get your seed orders in early. And actually that's proven to be sage advice, because I see an awful lot of seed companies are restricting the hours of their shopping carts being open at the moment, simply because they're inundated with seed inquiries and seed orders in particular. Particularly a lot of the smaller companies that I really want us to all buy from. In terms of, sorry, I was being waved at. In terms of pots and seed trays, if you're looking at buying pots and seed trays this year, please do look online or in shops if any of your shops are open, which I think is unlikely, and get them ordered now, because I think there's going to be a big call for those in February and March. And it may be that when you're looking to sow your seeds, you can't get seed trays and pots. And also when you're buying seed trays and pots, please make sure that, well, please try and ensure, you might not be able to afford it, but please try and ensure you buy good quality, not flimsy pots and flimsy seed trays that will break after 1 use or 2 uses. Can't speak today. Please try and buy more rugged ones. I know they're more expensive, but they will pay dividends in the long run. Also, if you have your seed trays and your pots already at hand, make sure you've given them a good brush over, even if not a wash. Because it's really important that when we're sowing our seeds and transplanting the seedlings, that we're sowing them into clean pots and clean trays. Also, if you're strapped for cash, then there are other ways you can save money but still have the opportunity of having things like seed trays. We have here 2 mushroom trays. So these had large mushrooms in them. It just happens one is green and the other is clear. They don't need to be. What you can do is put 2 of these together, and you can have your compost in this top one, and you can have this bottom one to collect any water that may seep out. And in the top one, put some drainage holes. And then effectively you can use this you can use this on the windowsill if you want inside, if you're going to be sowing some seeds early. So get 2 that are a similar size, make sure they slot together, and the bottom one can catch any water. So it acts as a gravel tray effectively. And the top one, put some holes in, and then you put your compost in there and sow your seeds. Obviously, if you're going to be sowing peas and beans and other things like that, you can also use the inside of toilet rolls or the inside of the tissue that you get for kitchen rolls you could use. Those are just mushroom ones, as I say, but you know, any shopping, if you look at some of the plastic that trays, those are mushrooms, but those trays are for mushrooms, as I say. But if you look at your shopping that you may regularly get, some of that other packaging, whether it's clear or black or a different colour, you may be able to use that and double stack that in the same way as these. I know, as you may know, we're veggie, so we don't have any meat, but I know that when you buy meat, it can come in pretty solid plastic trays, and stacking 2 of those on top will have the same result as this. And in fact, we're going to come on to something else that we're doing with these trays next week when we are sowing our aubergines, but I'll come on to that then. The second thing that I want you to just think about getting ahead on is, just with seed trays and pots, I think compost is going to be another issue for many people this year, particularly if the lockdowns get extended. The lockdowns we're experiencing at the moment get extended. So if you think you're going to need compost, do have a look online and see if you can either do a click and collect nearby or have a delivery. If you can get into stores, and by the time you're watching this video, stores are open, then, you know, obviously go to the stores if you feel comfortable with that and pick up your compost directly. But do try and think ahead. Anyway, I'm going to leave it now. Sorry, it's already around 7 minutes. I thought this was going to be a short one, but I hope you found it valuable. See you again tomorrow. Bye. Good day. And no, I haven't done the inside of the shed, and it's all marvellous and lovely and all cool colours with plants. I'm at home. I'm doing a pickup. Yesterday when I was at the plot, I did some footage which hasn't actually come out, and I did a couple of other bits of footage which have. So I thought, instead of going down there to do a pickup and then come back here, I'd just do it here. I was looking at the poly and thinking I need to do a polytunnel tidy. And then I thought, no, it was the end of the day. I thought I'll do it tomorrow, i.e. today. And as I went back to the shed and I locked up the shed and went to go, I saw that this gorgeous cat, which I haven't seen before, another cat I haven't seen before, and Fenella were having a bit of a standoff. They were quite away from each other at that point, and I thought, I know what, I'll get the camera out. That cat can move so fast. I mean, cats just move fast. I got the camera out and I did my bit of footage, and unfortunately that bit didn't come out. But then both the cat and Fenella moved, and we'll pick up the footage at that point. Now, before anyone gets anxious, there was a bit of peril, but there's no peril because everything was fine. So don't worry about that. I mean, I love all of the sort of Planet Earth and David Attenborough, programs and things, but all that peril really does quite get to me. Anyway, everything here was fine, but it just gives you an inkling of how the animals on our plots and around our site sort of get on with each other. So there's Fenella, who has picked up the scent of the cat. She did before as well. And I don't think you can you just see in here is the cat. Do I need to come in there and separate the two of you? I think I'm going to. The cat is being very, very, very brave. Fenella's moving away, and the cat, you can see, is just wondering where she's going. Gorgeous cat. I know you can't really see, but gorgeous. Anyway, she's going. Look, she's just gone up here, that cat. How they live in sort of harmony with each other is quite astonishing, really. Yeah. Fingers crossed for both of them. There was a little bit of a standoff, and Catty ran away, and Fenella is basking in the view of her territory while sleeping or dozing. Look at that ear flicking about. Both ears flicking about. You can hear me, can't you? Yeah, I can hear you. I can hear you, she says. I'm not too bothered at the moment, but I can hear you. Her son, who's Brush, that's what we call him, he's got much, much darker colouring. I don't think I've caught him on camera yet, but he does have much darker colouring, where Felicity, who's her daughter, is very, very similar. Little sleeker, but very similar. Right, we'll leave it there today, and I'll see you again soon for another A Week at the Plot. Bye.